There's this moment we all know too well. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., wide awake, having the most epic comeback conversation in your head with someone who hurt you 3 weeks ago. You're absolutely destroying them with words so perfect, so cutting, that even Shakespeare would rise from the grave just to applaud. In your mind, you absolutely annihilate them with logic, wit, and emotional mic drops. Meanwhile, the villain in your mental courtroom? Probably snoring peacefully, wrapped in a burrito of blankets, dreaming about pizza or their next dumb decision. And that's the punch in the gut, isn't it? While you're up rehashing the betrayal, cooking up comebacks, and mentally pacing the courtroom of justice, they're off in dreamland, completely unbothered. But here's the twist nobody tells you about revenge. While you're busy plotting their emotional destruction, the only person getting wrecked is you. Your mind becomes a battlefield, but they're not even on the field anymore. It's just you, fighting ghosts, losing sleep, and somehow still hurt. So let's make something very clear. This isn't about revenge. It's about power. Not the loud, dramatic, throw a chair kind of power. Not the post a cryptic quote and block them kind. I'm talking about the kind of power that's so quiet, it's unsettling. The kind that doesn't scream, doesn't explain, it just moves in silence. The stoic, spine of steel, emotionally unreachable kind of power. The kind that says, I'm good, and means it. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to win every battle without ever stepping into the ring.
Now here's the first thing you need to understand, and this might completely flip everything you think you know about dealing with people who hurt you. Let me tell you a little secret. The moment you react to someone who hurt you, you've already handed them the remote control to your emotions. And trust me, they're not going to use it responsibly. Think about it like this. Imagine your peace of mind is like your phone battery. You start the day at 100%, feeling good, ready to tackle whatever comes your way. But then your ex posts that picture with their new person, or your backstabbing friend shows up at the same party acting like nothing happened, or your toxic boss makes another snide comment. Each time you react, whether it's that angry text, that passive-aggressive social media post, or just that mental argument you have in the shower, you're draining your battery. And here's the kicker. They don't lose a single percentage point of their battery. You're doing all the work while they're living rent-free in your head. The Stoics had a saying, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. But I think we can take it further. The best revenge is making them completely irrelevant to your happiness. When someone hurts you, they're expecting one of two things. Either you're going to fight back, giving them drama to feed off of, or you're going to crumble, giving them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. But there's a third option that they never see coming, and that's where the real power lies. Now, the second thing that'll absolutely blow your mind is what I call the power of strategic silence. Before you think I'm about to tell you to become a monk and never speak again, let me clarify something. Strategic silence isn't about being weak or passive. It's about being smart. It's about choosing your battles so wisely that you never have to fight them. Here's what happens when you go strategically silent on someone who hurt you. They lose their power source. Think of toxic people like emotional vampires. They need your reaction to survive. When you stop feeding them, they literally don't know what to do with themselves. I had a friend, Dave, who had this coworker who would constantly take credit for his ideas in meetings. Dave used to get so worked up about it, staying after work to send long emails to HR complaining to anyone who would listen. The coworker? He was loving every minute of it because he knew he was getting under Dave's skin. Then Dave discovered something interesting. He stopped reacting entirely. When the coworker took credit for his idea in the next meeting, Dave just smiled and kept taking notes. No eye rolls, no huffing, no nothing. The coworker actually looked confused. He tried harder the next week, making even more obvious attempts to steal credit. Dave? Still said nothing. Within a month, the coworker was practically begging for a reaction. He started making mistakes because he was so focused on trying to get Dave's attention instead of doing his actual job. Meanwhile, Dave was promoted 6 months later because everyone noticed how professional and unflappable he was under pressure. That's the power of strategic silence. You're not ignoring the problem. You're making yourself immune to it.
Now here's the part that most people overlook, but it's exactly what the ancient Stoics mastered. They were basically the OGs of emotional jujitsu. Instead of meeting force with force, they learned to redirect energy. And here's how you can do the same, without breaking a sweat or your peace. When someone hurts you, they're essentially giving you free information about their character. They're showing you exactly who they are when they think nobody's watching, or when they think you can't do anything about it. That information is gold, if you know how to use it. Let's say someone spreads rumors about you. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself, to gather evidence, to tell your side of the story to anyone who will listen. But here's what the Stoics would do. They'd take notes. Not angry notes, strategic notes. They'd think, interesting. This person's character is so weak that they need to tear down others to feel better about themselves. That's useful information for the future. Then they'd do something that would completely baffle their enemy. They'd become even more successful, even more peaceful, even more confident. Not out of spite, but because they realized that the best response to someone trying to diminish you is to become undeniably great. Here's the beautiful part. While you're busy growing and improving, they're stuck in the same cycle of negativity that hurt you in the first place. They haven't learned anything. They haven't grown. They're just the same person who hurts people. And eventually, everyone figures that out. Marcus Aurelius, who was literally the most powerful man in the world at one point, wrote in his diary, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." He had the power to destroy anyone who crossed him, but he chose a different path, and that's why we're still talking about his wisdom 2,000 years later, while his enemies are forgotten footnotes in history books. Now that you understand how to redirect their energy, let me show you what the ultimate victory actually looks like. And trust me, it's nothing like what you'd expect. Here's where it gets really interesting. The most devastating victories are the ones your enemies never see coming. While they're waiting for you to explode, you're quietly becoming someone they could never hurt again. This is what I call the invisible victory. You win not by proving them wrong, but by making their opinion of you completely irrelevant. You win not by getting revenge, but by getting better. You win not by lowering yourself to their level, but by rising so far above it that they can't even see you anymore. Let me give you a real-world example. There's this woman by name Sarah, whose business partner completely screwed her over. Stole her clients, spread lies about her work, the whole 9 yards. Sarah's first instinct was to lawyer up, to fight fire with fire, to make sure everyone knew what a snake this person was. Instead, she took a different approach. She used all that anger as fuel, but not for revenge, for improvement. She worked twice as hard, learned new skills, and within 2 years had built a business that was 10 times more successful than the one her former partner had stolen. The kicker? Her former partner actually reached out to congratulate her on her success, completely oblivious to the fact that Sarah's success was built on the foundation of proving that good people don't need to cheat to win. That's an invisible victory. Sarah didn't defeat her enemy. She made her enemy irrelevant. And that's a much more satisfying win than any confrontation could have been. The Stoics called this living well. It's not about rubbing your success in people's faces. It's about becoming so genuinely content and successful that you forget why you were angry in the first place.
But here's the next level of this whole strategy. And this is what separates the amateurs from the true masters. In martial arts, there's this concept from AIKIDO, where you don't block your opponent's attack, you redirect it. You use their own force against them. The Stoics basically invented the emotional version of this technique. When someone hurts you, they're giving you energy. Angry energy, sure, but energy nonetheless. Most people either bottle that energy up until they explode, or they throw it right back at the person who hurt them. But there's a third option. You can redirect that energy into something that actually serves you. Think of it like this. Someone insults your work. That sting you feel, that's energy. You can either waste that energy arguing with them, or you can channel it into improving your work until their criticism becomes laughably outdated. Someone betrays your trust. That hurt you feel, that's energy too. You can either waste it plotting revenge, or you can use it to develop better judgment about who deserves your trust in the future. The beautiful thing about this approach is that it turns every attack into a gift. Not because you're grateful for the pain, that would be crazy, but because you're wise enough to extract value from it. I know someone who got fired from their job in the most humiliating way possible. Their boss called them into a meeting with no warning and basically told them they weren't good enough in front of the entire team. This person could have sued, could have badmouthed the company, could have let it destroy their confidence. Instead, they used that humiliation as rocket fuel. They spent the next year learning everything they could about their industry, networking like crazy, and building skills they never had time to develop while they were comfortable in their old job. 18 months later, they started their own company in direct competition with their former employer. 2 years after that, their old boss applied for a job at their company, and guess what? They hired him. Not out of spite, but because they had become genuinely successful enough to see past old grudges. That's the Aikido approach in action. You don't fight the negative energy, you transform it into something positive. And this brings us to the final and most powerful level of this entire system, what I call becoming untouchable. Here's the ultimate goal, becoming so secure in who you are that other people's behavior towards you says everything about them and nothing about you. When you reach this level, you become essentially untouchable. This doesn't mean you become arrogant or disconnected. It means you become unshakable. You know your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. You know your peace doesn't depend on other people's approval. You know your success isn't threatened by other people's jealousy. The Stoics had this exercise called the view from above. Imagine you're looking down on your life from space. From that perspective, the person who hurt you is just a tiny speck on a tiny planet. Their opinion of you is microscopic in the grand scheme of things. This isn't meant to make you feel insignificant. It's meant to help you realize that your worth isn't tied to any one person's judgment. When you truly internalize this, something magical happens. You stop being reactive. You stop taking things personally. You stop needing to defend yourself constantly. And when you stop doing those things, you become incredibly powerful. People who try to hurt you won't know what to do with this version of you. They're expecting drama, and you're giving them peace. They're expecting a fight, and you're giving them silence. They're expecting you to break, and you're just growing. Here's what the person who hurt you will never understand. By treating you badly, they accidentally gave you the greatest gift. They forced you to become stronger than you ever would have been without them. And the most beautiful part? You don't need to thank them. You don't need to forgive them publicly. You don't need to have some dramatic reconciliation. You just need to live your life so well that their presence in your story becomes a minor detail rather than a major plot point. That's true victory. That's the smartest way to destroy someone who hurts you, by making them so irrelevant to your happiness that they destroy themselves trying to get your attention. So the next time someone hurts you, remember, you have 3 choices. You can fight back and give them your energy. You can give up and give them your power, or you can rise above and give them nothing at all, while giving yourself everything. The Stoics chose option 3, and now you know how to do the same.